Welcome to the Modern Classrooms Project podcast. Each week, we bring you discussions with educators on how they use blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning to better serve their students. We believe teachers learn best from each other, so this is our way of lifting up the voices of leaders and innovators in our community. This is the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.
Hey y'all, it's Tony Rose, Deanna, and they, them pronouns, a designated hype person here at MCP. And I am joined by an educator in New Jersey who is like newly elected in the Board of Education, which is really exciting. And y'all got to check out Dom's bio actually, because it's like a whole story. It's a whole journey. And I really enjoyed reading it. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I'm so excited to be joined by Dom LaCarrubba. And I'm so excited to get to know you because I know your mentor, Kim, talked really highly of you and just the experiences that you've had with MCP. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here this morning.
Yeah, it's so exciting to be in this space with you. And thank you so much for saying yes to the podcast. I know that we got in touch with each other and then 4 days later, now we're recording. It's really quick turnaround and we're doing it early in the morning before your classroom or before your classes start. So thank you again for your time. And so before we get started, Dom, what is bringing you joy currently?
Well, currently I'm in the midst of a basement renovation, which has been a big goal of mine to fulfill. For many years since I bought this house, the basement was always kind of a cringe place for me to go. There was mice down there. I developed this sense that I can smell mice when they're about, and that just kept me out of the basement, which was a whole place that I really wanted to expand into and give that space to my kids. So we renovated it and we went a little crazy. I made a speakeasy in the basement. So it has remember Webster, that show from way back in the 80s where he had that secret room where he opened a clock or something and went down into a hideout. I replicated that in my basement. We made what's called a Murphy door, which is a bookcase that opens up, and I got a vintage pinball machine, a vintage Street Fighter II arcade game, shuffleboard table, put a lot of fun stuff in there for the family to enjoy on cold winters like we just had. But hopefully we're moving away from that and going to get some more time outdoors too.
Yeah, and this is so exciting. I live with my sister and my brother-in-law, and my sister, they just bought a new house. And so we're doing all the house renovations, all the things. And we're oh my gosh, there's so much to do. It's so little time. And so this basement thing of yours is an aspired to do. We have an extra room that we want to turn into a gym. And it's just a whole project. And we're all right, let's do this whole must do, should do, aspire to do. Let's prioritize what actually needs to happen versus let's just do all the things. So that is so fun. I love that speakeasy secret room thing. Definitely, I want to hear more about that. So keep me posted.
Indeed.
So another thing, prior to me hitting record, I know that you and I were talking about how you had been away from the classroom for about 2 months, right? Because of all the things that have happened in your life. And this is such a nice reminder too, that teachers are humans, right? And so it's not just our students who may be going through whatever it is that they're going through in life, but it's also teachers, the adults in the classroom. And so you had to step away from the classroom. And we often have lots of conversations about student absences. And we also talk about subs coming in and loving the model. But we don't really talk about how the model impacts when a teacher is gone for a long period of time, right? And so I'm really curious too, Dom, you were away from your classroom for 2 months, yet your students are nearly caught up to last year's pace, right? And so how did the structure of this Modern Classrooms model allow for such a resilient recovery when you returned? Because, share as much as you want, don't share what's happening. That's also okay. But I'm just so curious about how that comeback was.
Yeah, the comeback started with having the right person in the midst of my absence. We really lucked out with having a person with a growth mindset come in and who's really open to working with Katie Dowling, who's the 5th grade teacher in my school, who's also a modern classroom trainer, and really pivotal in getting me into the modern classroom world. So she helped to facilitate the switch between my very regimented modern classroom. They know what to expect from the start to the end of the class period, to this new person who didn't have all those things buttoned down and needed a little bit of patience and a little bit of guidance too. So the kids ended up guiding the substitute through the first week of her experience in my classroom. Giving her the order and the routines and the expectations that they have for how the day is going to go. When I said I wanted my classroom to be student-centered and student-directed, I meant it. And so it really put my money where my mouth is, meaning I had to let go of the control that I have spent the last 15 years developing as a classroom teacher and really let it go and let Modern Classroom do its thing. And I was shocked when I returned. I had heard that things were going well. Katie and my other colleagues here at school had kept me in the loop. But I really didn't want to be too much in the loop. I had to really focus on my recovery. I had a serious injury and a traumatic brain injury at that. So it was really important that I focus and put my faith in the process and really trust the process. And I have been so repaid by making that decision. I came into a group that was not so much fine-tuned, but they were where I needed them to be so that I could just make adjustments around the edges and keep them just sharp on our pace. That was really my goal, is to get right back to the pace that we had established prior to my exit.
And I think it's also really nice that it was like one less thing that you have to worry about, right? Like you said, you were going through like a whole bunch of stuff outside of the school. And so it's so great to hear that you have your coworkers, your colleagues really build that community to support you and make sure that you're doing okay. And so I know for me, when I was in the classroom prior to implementing the model, I hated being out because I always felt like I had to catch students up. And so I would go in there sick because I would rather just be sick and teaching rather than like feeling well and like getting them caught up. But also like being sick at home, worried about the kids not learning while I'm gone. Right. And so it's like all of those layers there. And I love this thing of your priority too, of like, I really want student centered and I really want student directed. And so to hear that the kids were guiding the substitute teacher, well, like what a beautiful thing, right? It's so great to hear that because now they're taking ownership of their learning. And that's ultimately what we want. And you teach fifth graders, right? Like fourth and fifth, like elementary school. Yeah, fourth grade. And so those are like the babies. And a lot of the times I hear too, elementary school kids cannot do A, B, C, D. And it's like, no. You'd be really surprised at how much they are able to do. And so another question, a follow-up question that I have, because I know that you had shared this in your bio as well, is like, how did you get into teaching? Because that in itself is like a great story as well.
So I come from a family of educators. My two older sisters are extremely accomplished people. And here I come, the third child, the boy who is just kind of wayward. And so I decided after college that I was not going to go into teaching, that I was going to go like the polar opposite and become a salesperson, work in Manhattan and do high-paced, high-pressure sales. And I did that for quite a while. I moved around. I went down south, went to North Carolina in sales, went to Florida in sales. I did well. I got into sales training and coaching to help people, glean the skills that I had, but it just wasn't soul satisfying. I was really looking to be gratified beyond just monetarily, and I started really digging into what my sisters were doing and how they were making an impact. Their quality of life was great. They weren't, dealing with the stressors outside of work that I was, where, I was bringing a lot of my work home and stressing over, closing deals and whatnot. And it was really taking its toll on my quality of life. So at a certain point, I decided, why am I teaching adults that don't really want to learn from me when I could be having an impact on children that I could really, help move the needle for and make their futures brighter and pay back some of those gifts that have been given to me as a student. So I went back to school, got my master's in curriculum and instruction, and I found no work as a teacher in that first 5 years without having any experience in the classroom. And being that I wanted to teach elementary school, there was a lot of interviews with no callbacks. And so I had to eat some humble pie. I took a job as a basic skills instructor in the classroom that I took fifth grade math in. When I interviewed with the teacher, he's like, "Oh, Dom, yeah, come on in, start on Monday." And so it was just having that open door for me, like somebody opening a door just a little bit. And then I was able to marry the two aspects of my different careers. I do a lot of coaching in the classroom. That's basically what I do. I have a background in athletics and in coaching, and I was a sales coach. So all of my best work is done across a table, one-on-one. And so with that being said, this model was just kind of waiting there for me to pay attention to. I was skirting around the edges of a model that actually worked for about 10 years as a teacher. I got my own classroom a couple years after I got that opportunity that I just mentioned, and it was being thrown to the wolves. I really didn't think that the way I wanted to teach was going to fit anywhere. So I kind of just adapted to the styles of teaching of the people around me. And slowly I began to add in the ingredients that now make my classroom the team room. If you see the team room behind me, which is, all my coaching elements finding their way into the classroom and really building the model that ended up leading me to MCP, Modern Classroom Project.
And that's such a great story too, Dom. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that a lot of the skills that we do as teachers are transferable. And so it's good to know that like you are coming from sales, those skills are transferable to the classroom, which again, is just such a nice reminder because sometimes we forget as educators, like how skillful we really are and how we are just so good at so many things. And so thank you for sharing that. And then the coaching piece as well, right? Because that is what we want to be in the classroom. We want to be the coach. We're not like the person who knows it all, but we're there to facilitate, we're there to guide, we're there to coach our students to learn the skills and the concepts that they need to learn. And I love this whole full circle moment of you being back in the classroom that you were taking your fifth grade math class in. And that's just so beautiful. I have come across a couple of educators now who have done that, right? Like, no, I went back to where I started as a kid, and that's where I am now. And I think that there's something magical about that. I don't know if I could do it, but if the opportunity is there, I think I may try it just to see how it goes, right? But and thank you again for sharing your story with us. It's so fascinating to hear from like year one to like all the way now, and like all the changes that you've created in your classroom. And so, thinking about changes too, because it seems like you're very responsive to your students' needs, right? You're like, oh, they need this, so let's do that, right? Like, oh, I need to do this, so let me do that. Yeah. And it's great. And so you actually went from like online pacing guides to requiring physical paper guides on every student's desk when it comes to like those progress trackers, right? And progress trackers are a hot topic. And so what have you been able to observe about your students' progress or body language now that information is so visible? And I know that there's like a movement now to move away from tech as well, to bring back more paper. And so let's talk through that change, that little change that you made in your classroom.
Yeah, so I had this idea that I was just going to keep their progress tracker on our active board, which is a tool that I use very often in the classroom. So the idea of switching back and forth between having like what the demonstration I was doing on the board, modeling, and then switching back and forth to the progress tracker, it was a conceptual idea that worked well in concept, but not in practice. So I tried to tweak it, tried to fiddle around. Kim and I went, through different examples that other educators had used, and it just wasn't working for my classroom. So Katie she just printed them out for me and left them on my desk one day. She said, "Try these. These work. Or paper is not our enemy." And so I ended up passing them out that day. And I asked the kids to put them someplace where they're going to be visible all period, every day. And there weren't many kids that did that initially. This is something that they held close to the vest. And they didn't want to have that out there for the world to be able to see. And so it took a few conversations about how we're a team and that, how we perform as individuals really leads to our successes as a group, and that we have to rely on each other to move forward because we can only go as far as the person who's, at the end of the line. So I really wanted to destigmatize it and making them take them out at the start of every class period really became a routine, so it's part of their toolbox, I call it, their communicator, their dry erase marker, their learn and apply books, their pencil, and now their pacing guide. And that tracker is really useful for me because I can quickly round up kids that are, a little bit behind our pace or, struggling with one certain element and bring them back to the back of the room and have a really quick coaching session and then send them back to do their independent work with a lot more confidence.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate this, your background with coaching and athletics, right? Like the teamwork is really important. This team room that you've created and the constant reminders with students that like, it's not an individual thing. We are a team. So we can only go as far as that last person, right? So we really have to rely, like you said, rely on each other, lift each other up, help each other, support each other. Those are life skills that like people need to continue working on, right? And these are fourth graders.
Hey there, listeners. This is Zach, back with some announcements for this week. You can help us spread the Modern Classrooms model by referring a friend and earning swag. Know a colleague or school leader who would love our summer learning opportunities? Fill out the form linked in the show notes, and MCP will take it from there. MCP will reach out to them with information on the model and their exclusive discount code. You can join our monthly collab meetup every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for a fast-paced, idea-packed session where teachers from around the world share their best classroom strategies, tips, and hacks. Think of it as a lightning round where collaboration meets inspiration, because when teachers connect, students thrive. On April 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern, we'll be focused on ways to celebrate exceptional students. You can register using the link in the show notes, but for now, let's get back into it with Tony Rose and Dom.
And so I love that you said paper is not our enemy, right? And that's kind of shifting my brain a little bit because in my head, it is the enemy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to do paper. It's too much. Yeah. And so and you're teaching your students responsibility as well, right? I need you to keep up with this thing because as you get older, you're going to have to keep up with many things. So again, these like executive functioning skills that you're really practicing and honing in your classroom is really important. So now I think I have a question. How do you make sure that your fourth graders actually keep track of the progress trackers? Because that's a lot.
It is. We do a lot of stapling. They staple them to their apply or learn books. So that if they get damaged, that's okay, but it's not likely that they're going to get lost. These are temporary, they're only per topic. So if they lose them, they got to get back to it. They got to show me evidence that they did the guided notes. They have to, I hold their exit tickets until their catch-up day. So I'll have their exit tickets. So I'll have evidence of that, so they just have to do a little bit more work. And so we always talk about how preparation keeps you from having to do more. Like if you do more in the beginning, you do less at the end, right? And we're always talking about how being prepared can really save you from having to struggle later, keep you off the struggle bus, I say. So when they are, going through it, I'll remind them, man, if only we would have just kept that paper, all this could have been avoided. What are we doing here? And it's just like making the obvious thing almost like absurdity, why are we even talking about this? Aren't we at the point now where you've realized how important this paper is? And then they start to realize that they are the captain of their ship, that what they decide to do has almost immediate consequences in the quality of their experience. I say all the time, you only get one shot at the team room, right? This is it. It is what you're going to make it. There's one quote that is all over my classroom. Something that I said in a moment, my first year of teaching here at Frankfurt School. You live in a world you create. In the team room, it's your world. It is what you make it. If you want it to be awesome, it's going to be awesome. If you don't, it's going to be less than awesome. And who wants less than awesome? And that is something that I was worried about losing when I started Modern Classroom Project, because I thought that I was going to have to get rid of all the individualization that I put into my classroom over the last 13 years and supplant it for a rigorous program that, has these really clear benchmarks and routines that must be followed. But it doesn't take individuality out of it. It doesn't take your personality out of it. But it also doesn't make your classroom a cult of personality, which it was kind of veering towards a cult of personality, where kids were doing things because that's the way Mr. L liked it done. And that wasn't working for anybody. It's just, it's not about me, it's about us. And I didn't want kids doing things just to please me. I wanted them to do things that are going to lead them towards their goals.
I really, again, appreciate the honesty here and that reflection piece too of I really thought there was the misconception that I would have to give up my personality, the way that I've been doing things. And this is something I tell my teachers that I work with all the time, is that it enhances what you're doing, honestly, right? It allows you to even to show up even more yourself in the classroom as well as the students too. And so, I appreciate that perspective as well of you know what, I had some hesitations. I was scared because that's real, right? That is real and that is raw. And you were talking about this preparedness thing. Something that me and my friends say to each other is that if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Right? And I love that kids are getting that too from you. And it's really, I love, again, this thing that you said, you live in the world that you create. And this is something as an adult that I'm having to say over and over and over again, just so that I know I have a choice, so that I can remind myself that I have a choice with the decisions that I make, with the words that I use, and the people that I surround myself with, right? And so, you're saying that there's this one shot at being in this room, one shot at living this life. And however, for your reassessment, you're no, actually, you get a lot of shots. I want you to keep doing. Yeah, I know. Right. I was thinking how I could do this. And it's great because again, you're yeah, you get this one shot to live your life. And right, and because two things can exist at once. It's one shot, and you can make mistakes and keep trying and trying and trying again to keep making it better, right? And so you have this reassessment policy that I absolutely love. And again, this is kudos to Modern Classroom, this mastery-based learning, right? Really invites our students to earn full points back right? And then you mentioned to Kim as well that you utilize AI generated study guides.
Yeah.
I am curious. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this is new. We had an AI training with a middle school teacher who's been doing a real deep dive into the different engines that are out there and the different models that exist. And what I took from that was that, I spend a lot of time just developing things that could be done through AI, making study guides by hand, like typing them out when AI could do that for me and really allow me to allocate my time to more, to other ventures or to doing things for my kids that, making that second small group instead of making a study guide. The time that it freed up is immeasurable because you don't realize how much time is just spent doing things like that to in preparation to making it go well. So if I could take that prep time and narrow it down to a size where I can work with it, then I'm happy. And that is what it's done for me. I have a relationship with ChatGPT at this point. It started a little bit, hesitant, but I now converse with ChatGPT. I'll admit. I will bounce some ideas off of my ChatGPT. I haven't named it yet, but we're not there. But it may evolve. But
It may evolve.
It may evolve. It has the potential to. But I do see the value in it, and it's in these areas, not for creativity. I do really. Cherished my creativity, and I really want to continue to water that seed, so to speak. But and I fear that if I don't keep using it, I'm going to lose it. So I don't want to overemphasize how useful AI can be, but it has its place.
Yeah, totally understandable, right? Like if it can cut time so that you can spend your time with students, like I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. Because I remember back in my classroom too, I taught sixth grade ELA, Dom, and I didn't call them study guides, I called them cheat sheet. And so my team and I created the cheat sheets for almost every lesson so that there's like the summary, the takeaways, all of that good stuff, right? So that took a lot of time. I mean, there were 4 of us in our team and we took turns doing it, but it was just like tedious. It took a while, right? And another thing that I saw as well is that the cheat sheet, now it pushed me as an educator to make my mastery checks even more intentional, right? So that the kids aren't just copying and pasting, like they actually had to apply the knowledge. And so it pushed me as an educator to make better assessments for my students. And so I love the fact that you're using AI generated study guides to lessen your time so that you can be creative, right? And so another great segue, Dom, is that you and Kim were talking about how you wanted to create your own instructional videos. Now, AI can help with that, yes. And I love the humanizing aspect of an instructional video made by me. And so my students can see that it's me, right? So, why do you think that why? Just why? Why do you want to do your own videos?
It's consistency. It's weird because I preach consistency across the board. And then when they watch the video, it's somebody else and they're delivering it in a slightly different way. The humor isn't there. Humor is everywhere in my classroom. And I want to make sure that it's in those videos as well. So it just is that levity that I think that they need so they don't get too down. Because when they just get down on themselves so quickly, they don't have much resilience at this point. These are COVID kids, and they're very quick to awfulize. So when they have something that they can perceive as negative, many of them will really dig into that and ruminate on that. And they liked seeing Mrs. Dowling, who did a lot of the videos for fourth grade because she was doing the piloting of the fourth grade program. So they saw her. They're like, hey, I recognize that lady. Yeah, I'm going to have her next year. But then those videos went away after the first module. And then they started seeing these random other people. And then I got the feedback from a parent, actually came through the kid. My dad thinks that the guy on the video is you, because they watch the video at home. And so my dad thought that he knew what you looked like, but then he saw you and he was confused. And I was like, that's not great. I wasn't thrilled with that. So that really was the impetus to get me to make the decision to make my own videos. It's a little bit egotistical, I guess, but
no, it's personalizing, right? Like, you are all about personalizing the stuff that you put in front of your kids. And so totally understandable. And you know what? Kudos to the parent who watched that video. Right? Like, that is what my aspire to do for everybody is to like access the videos and learn together, family, stakeholders, like teachers, other teachers, all of that good stuff. So that's really nice that they work together, but also like, oh, that's not me actually.
Sorry to disappoint. Guy's a little better looking than me, but here I am.
Yeah. And that is hilarious. And that's the reality of it too. So good luck creating those videos in the summer. Try not to take too much time doing it. Again, keep the mistakes, I love that you were like, I want to add humor. I want to add a little bit of me, right? More into the videos. And so this is going to be so fun. This is going to be so fun. And I'm excited to hear how that goes. And so Dom, last question. In that conversation that you had with Kim that I was able to watch, it was really beautiful. You had said like, I love this model and I want to advocate for it. I want to share it with the third through fifth grade math teachers at your school. How do you plan on sharing that? How do you plan on showing it off? How do you plan to get that moving?
Well, luckily, the third grade teacher that I was referring to when I was talking to Kim, she used to work in my classroom. So she was the RTI instructor when we did the push-in model for RTI. And that's response to intervention. And it is the interventionist usually would take the kids from the classroom, but we asked for them to flip the model that year so that she could stay in the classroom with me. And that was such a great year because having that other person, I don't ever have another person in the classroom with me. Sometimes there's a paraprofessional, but there's very rarely another educator in the classroom with me who I can, have that team approach of teaching with, which I really love, but I never get. So she really understood my style and knew that I wouldn't recklessly choose a program to implement in my classroom that didn't allow me to maintain who I am as a teacher, and didn't enhance the things that I already have in my classroom. So she was like, how's it going from the start? And really interested in how I'm implementing Modern Classroom without, supplanting my current classroom, my existing classroom. So she's like had her ear to my door, so to speak, all year. And so she's really excited about the prospect of doing the training and implementing it for next year. So it's not like I had to do much selling. There's enough teachers in this building right now running Modern Classroom that the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. Like, we are some of the most impactful teachers in this organization, and I don't say that bashfully. We are doing things and have the bandwidth and the resilience. Like, we don't get beat down so easily because we're not on stage for 6 hours a day. Like, that is really draining to have all eyes on you 6 hours a day, with these little kids judging every moment and movement. We had to flip that for our own sanity. And Katie doing it was really the linchpin for this thing. If she hadn't done it, I don't think that we would be in the place we are now as an organization. So that really speaks to both the courage of that individual and the efficacy of this program.
Yeah, so shout out to Katie. And I know that, listeners, y'all have heard us talk about Kim. Kim is one of our educator support managers at MCP. And so she mentors math teachers, and Dom is one of our mentees. And so I got to be an ear to the recording, that meeting that y'all had, because y'all have coaching calls. And so I really love that, because Kim is so good at advocating and elevating her mentees' voices. So shout out to Kim as well. And, you said you didn't have to do a lot of salesy pitch, right? Nothing like that. People were just bought in. I think modeling is a type of salesy move, right? Hey, I'm going to show you, and then you decide if you want to do it or not, right? So I love that. And again, you're still kind of using a lot of the skills that you had previously. So, but Dom, thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you for this. Yeah, this morning was great. I was not prepared to record early in the morning, but here we are. And so thank you again for sharing your experiences and your expertise. And I hope that you continue to heal as you go through the school year and as you adjust back in the classroom. So thank you again for your time and your energy.
That is my pleasure. And thank you for the well wishes. And now you have something else that you can add to your skill set: early morning recordings.
Right.
Thank you so much for listening. Listeners, remember you can always email us at podcast@modernclassrooms.org, and you can find the links to topics and tools we discussed, as well as more info on this week's announcements and events, in the show notes for this episode at podcast.modernclassrooms.org. We'll have this episode's recap and transcript uploaded to the Modern Classrooms blog on Friday, so be sure to check there or check back in the show notes for this episode if you'd like to access those. And if you enjoy our podcast and it's been helpful in supporting you to create a blended, self-paced, mastery-based learning environment, we would love if you could leave a review. That does help other folks find our podcast. And of course, you can always learn the essentials of our model, if you want to go beyond the podcast, through our free course at learn.modernclassrooms.org. And you can follow us on social media at modernclassproj. That's PROJ. We are so appreciative of all the hard work you do for students and schools. Have a great week, and we'll be back next Sunday with another episode of the Modern Classrooms Project podcast.